Good and bad news run in parallel this year. In one breath, the First Minister tells us the vaccine rollout is in full swing. 280,000 have had their first dose in Scotland so far. But in the next, we're told schools will stay shut and the lockdown will be extended until at least the middle of next month. That's because
on the front line. They fear the coming few weeks will be the worst yet. Our chief news correspondent James Cook first reported from Monklands Hospital in the spring. He's been back to the intensive care unit there.
James is here now. James, really powerful and sobering stuff in there. And that's the second time that you and camera operator Chaz Ross have been to Monklands, isn't it? I just wonder, how did it compare this time to when you were there in May, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's that much harder to decide when you lift the lockdown, even if you've got to a point of vaccinating the people who are ostensibly at the highest.
US President Donald Trump's term in office is almost over. Today is his last full day at the White House. Tomorrow, President-elect Joe Biden will be inaugurated at a low-key ceremony in Washington, D.C. It's a city in lockdown amid fears of violence from President Trump's hardcore support.
The extraordinary has become almost mainstream, hasn't it, over the past 4 years? And the president may yet end his term.
Well, we were hoping to speak to our correspondent Barbara Plett-Usher in Washington. We haven't quite managed to get that line there, but quite striking in John's report, wasn't it? You know, the images of all those flags, but also striking the images of the kind of razor wire fence as well.
And just more striking, do you know, I can't get used to it. It was the 6th of January, the invasion of the Capitol, but every time you see those pictures, it's the capital of the United States of America.
Yeah.
Just can't, but as we said in the intro there, the extraordinary has just become mainstream. This has been a 4-year presidency where we've just become almost kind of immune to, what would be previously described as outrage upon outrage. We're about to enter a very different period in American and world politics.
Absolutely.
But, as we were talking about at the top, pardons.
Pardons,
You can still pardon people. Every president generally does it on the last day. We are awaiting with bated breath to see who's going to get the kind of get-out-of-jail-free card from Donald Trump.
And if we hear about that, we will, of course bring it to you.
Now, some of the day's other news, and Police Scotland have issued a record 241 fines in a single week to people breaching COVID travel restrictions. In the week to the 13th of January.
It must be said, Virat Kohli missing that incredible win, but he did have to go home for the birth of his first baby.
Oh, wow.
So while he'll still be pretty gutted to miss out on that, I'm sure, at least he has some celebrations of his own.
Yes, silver lining to that one, isn't there?
Absolutely. It wouldn't have happened not so long ago, would it?
I know.
It wouldn't have been considered a reasonable reason to disappear.
Exactly.
I tell you what, Chris McLaughlin's interview with the Olympic organisers.
Really interesting.
Really.
What I find so interesting is this time last year we were seeing those kind of interviews where, the officials were so sure that we would see the Olympics go ahead. But I think, as we've known, if we've learned anything over the past year, it's just how quickly the situation can change. And we may see a similar interview in a matter of months saying
but
also
the completely different approaches to it. I mean, Ross County Hamilton can't have fans in here, but they're saying, come from everywhere. And vaccine, forget it. Doesn't matter.
Don't need one.
It's coming. It's happening. It's happening this summer.
You can come on
So, let's wait and see. I suspect there are more chapters to be written in that story, aren't there?
Yes, there certainly are. We will, of course, keep you up to date with all of them every
Good
time.
scoop from Chris. Really good scoop.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much,
Amy. Cheers.
Now, one of the possible future leaders of Scottish Labour has rejected overtures from the Scottish Tories to once again campaign together in another independence referendum. Anas Sarwar, who is up against Monica Lennon for the top job in Scottish Labour, described the proposal as playground politics. He addressed this and other issues in an interview with The Nine, which began with him outlining how he planned to turn his party's fortunes around.
Now, Celtic Connections is Europe's biggest winter music festival, but of course this year it is, like so many other things, online. More than 300 gigs would have been held all over Glasgow, but now you can pay £40 and watch every single performance from the comfort of your own home.
Despite this, or maybe because of this, the festival has had a bigger audience than ever, with more than 18,000 tickets selling in 44 countries so far. Well, is this the future? We spoke to Edinburgh-born Ross Wilson, who performs as Blue Rose Code. He's due up tomorrow night.
All the best.
Really interesting stuff there. I mean, he wasn't holding back, was he? When talking about the stuff laterally, incandescent with fury.
But that's pretty representative of a lot of musicians, right? From big, mega-selling stars to really small artists, and they're concerned about the impact that it's going to have on people who rely on them for their livings and all that kind of stuff. But I suspect there will be more dialogue on this, like a lot of things with Brexit. Maybe it's not over. The government haven't maybe necessarily played their last card on it. Let us see.
We shall wait and see.
The future holds all sorts of mysteries, but one of them can be resolved for us now. Christopher Blanchett will tell us what the weather's going to do, and I think you're going to tell us it's going to turn unpleasant, aren't you?
Well, it's already unpleasant for some of us, actually. Really wet outside of this building at the minute, and that rain really heavy across southern Scotland. In fact, starting to turn to snow for some, anywhere really from sort of the borders up towards Perth. So really blizzard conditions with the snow blowing around. Winter conditions to come. What do you think of that?
Wow.
Foot of snow, not very much. Tell you what, when he gets a face on him, we call him Storm Christoph in the office.
Yes, you do.
Don't we, Christopher? Thank you very much indeed for that. Right, let's have some good news to finish the programme off with, shall we? This is a cracker, a lovely story. The third oldest person in Scotland has received, guess what? Yes, her COVID vaccine on her 108th birthday.
This morning, fantastic news.
Tell you what,
and
she's
happy
looking all
birthday!
right in 108.
I would like some of her secrets.
Exactly, I look older than her. Right, that is it. That's all we've got time for this evening.
As always, thank you very much for watching. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow.
We will, and remember, American inauguration tomorrow. Proper coverage right across our programme, 9 o'clock tomorrow night. We'll see you then. Good night.